Hello to all the suffering addicts, and hello to all the people who have found sanity in the recovery lifestyle. In this episode of Stories of Addiction, I'll be talking to Jeff about his best and his worst times using drugs. We are against the use of drugs and alcohol, and we are asking these questions to our guests because we believe our audience wants to know this information. Jeff is a client at the Gault House Sober Living Environment in Santa Cruz, California. Jeff is 64 years old and he has been addicted to meth and alcohol and has used steroids on a regular basis. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Please tell us what your drugs of choice are and how you got started using them.
Well, just like any little kid, I had two older brothers, and they were always into smoking weed and playing sports and stuff like that. I'm the youngest of three brothers, so I never really knew what drugs were until one of his friends came by and asked me if I was smoking a joint. I didn't know what the hell a joint was. I just knew what a cigarette was, so I thought it was some form of cigarette.
What age were you then?
Like 12. Yeah. So after that, I remember getting sick and getting really dizzy and falling over and acting like an idiot. So I go, this sucks. I don't think I want to do that again. But lo and behold, the next day, I was seeking out that guy and asking if I had another cigarette to smoke. And I just carried on from there. And I was going to say that it hasn't all been bad. I've had good times out there, growing up with older brothers and so on.
Tell us about your best times on drugs or surrounding drugs.
Probably backpacking and hiking. We get a friend of mine. I felt all of my connections with friends come to the realization that they all had some connection to drugs. So we used to go mushroom hunting up in the hills, and we used to just get just start picking mushrooms and start hallucinating, walk around, backpacking, camping and whatnot. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. It's one of those things where you don't want to come down. You don't want to come back home. You don't want to do nothing. It was a good escape for me at that time because, my family life wasn't all that great. So.
And what age were you when you were having these good times backpacking and picking mushrooms?
Probably around 15. Yeah.
Okay.
15 through my 20s. Yeah.
What was the progression from there?
A lot of alcohol was introduced. So like I said, my two older brothers, they were very popular in high school. And they used to have parties all the time when my parents were gone. So they'd have these big old parties. They're jocks, so they play with the football team and stuff like that. So they thought I was cute, let's get Jeff drunk, see what happens. And there's many times I woke up on my mom's kitchen floor on my back, and nobody seemed to care that I was laying on my back until my mom came home the next morning and saw me laying on the ground going, what the hell are you doing laying on the ground? So she looked around, saw all the alcohol laying around the house and stuff like that, and then she, proceeded to lay into my house, going, what the hell are you doing? And you gave me the alcohol. So right away I gave up my brothers, and it went from chaos to more chaos. But yeah, I had a lot of fun though. I mean, after that point, I found alcohol was one of the greatest escapes I ever felt in my life. It made me feel like I belonged because everybody else was drinking. I didn't realize what was going on, so I just know if I drank alcohol with people, people would like me, and so on and so on. Because my brothers, they were very protective of me. So whatever happened in the house stayed in the house until I got to a point of reasoning and decided to go out on my own and buy my own alcohol and do this and so on and so on. I had a really good time though, really. Then I started meeting girls, and it was cool because I walked around with a backpack full of beer in junior high school, and all the girls thought that was cool. So after that point, I went to Juvenile Hall a lot, I remember. I remember going to my principal's office in junior high school. My dad used to come. In fact, when they would pull me in the office because I was drunk going to school and drunk during school, the principal would go, sit right here, I'm going to call your dad. And I literally broke down and go, don't call my dad, call my mom. That was the biggest mistake. My mom, she just laid into me as soon as because what they would do is put me in the same office with my parents, and the principal would walk out. And they took the opportunity to just lay into me and stuff. So I didn't think of that much of what was going on. I just wanted to drink more beer. I didn't care at that point. I just I knew there was a lot of problems in my family, but I was too young to figure it out. But I sensed there was really something bad going on. And that realization, I found out my mom and my dad were separating. That left me in a lot of fear. I didn't have nobody to basically guide me through life, tell me what do's and don'ts, how important it is to stay in school and get good grades and all that stuff. And play sports, which I didn't play sports because I sucked at it. But I drank beer really good. I excelled in drinking, so.
And from high school, this was in your late teens, and then what was the progression from there to now? I know you've been sober for a year or two. Tell me some of the good times after high school.
Well, I met my childhood sweetheart. That was a big thing for me. So after I left high school, we both got jobs and we moved in together. Back then in Cupertino, you could afford a house back then. You can't now, but back then, there's plenty of jobs and so forth like that. And there's a lot of family members willing to help you out. So we ended up renting a house, and there's another whole story to that part that just it didn't go well after that, but it was good. I found somebody that loved me basically for who I was, and so she basically pulled me out of that alcoholic stupor after a little bit. She thought, what I was doing was kind of dumb, but I didn't care. But at the moment, I didn't realize what she was doing, and then I came to my senses and decided, well, maybe she's right, because nobody else told me. I would take a beating, but she would most comfort me with love and understanding, and the do's and don'ts. And she wanted a lifestyle, a family. She wanted kids and stuff like that. I never even thought about having kids, because we had the neighbors' kids over the house all the time, so we played with those kids. I go, that was cool enough, but she wanted her own kids, so that went really well for a while. And then, it's the progression of just, hiding alcohol at that point. I was playing, I was going to work every day. I was doing tile setting and stuff like that. But I was holding alcohol really well. I was hiding it because it wasn't pretty much a problem at that point. So I just ran with it and just, I never thought there was a problem until later on to my junior adult life. And then I found out that, got my first DUI, and I ended up in jail and pretty much went from hell from that point on.
Tell me about the turning point when the good times were over and there was a realization that things had to change.
Losing my sanity for one point, going to prison, repeatedly going to jail constantly. Ended up being homeless for 2 years on the streets here in Santa Cruz. Even at that point, I didn't think I had big of a problem. I just thought I was in a bad situation. This really sucks. But, you keep drinking and all that bad stuff goes away.
What would you go to jail for?
Stealing, petty theft stuff, fighting, stealing alcohol more than anything because I was on the streets. DUI stuff like that, fighting with my girlfriend, domestic violence. But I've never, hit a woman. I never hit my girlfriend or nothing like that. But we'd have big ass arguments and stuff like that. So the cops, they always show up and just say who started the fight, and we blame each other, and it gets to the point where they usually take me because I was drunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of your worst times, your darkest moments, your blackest periods that involve drugs or alcohol.
Oh, I wanted to kill myself. Yeah, there was a point where I was living with my dad because I totally failed at, being a good potential husband and, living my own life and doing my own thing. To where I ended up back with him. And at that time, I felt really, really lonely. To the point where, I wanted to kill myself a little bit. I got on my dad's Valium. I know where he kept his Valiums in it because he suffered from hypertension, and probably because of me. I drove him. To this day, I realized I probably drove him to that point. But it was like when I started losing everything. I was back at my dad's house. All my friends were doing really well, and then I'm looking at my life, go, man, you suck, Jeff. There's no. I really didn't see a way out because I didn't know anything about recovery. I didn't know nothing about it. I knew about it, but I really never pursued it because I always thought it was fucking weak people. So one day I remember taking my dad's Valiums to drink a gallon of wine and took his 357 Magnum. And I was going to go out in the backyard and blow my fucking brains out. And I passed out with a gun on my chest. My dad found me in the backyard, and that was it, man. Another stint on the streets and don't come back to the house. I couldn't find a way out, a healthy way out, so to speak.
What age were you when that happened?
Probably in my 20s. Yeah. I pretty much, at early age, experienced very dark thoughts of nothing's ever going to get any better. No one's going to love me anymore. It's to me, it was one of the lower points of my life. And there were many after that. I just thought that was it, but there was more.
It seems that you had only a few good years using drugs and alcohol, and then a long number of bad years.
Yeah, I did. It was more bad than good. That's how I remember, because a lot of it was a lot of blackout drinking. I couldn't even remember half the good times I've had, other than meeting Emma and starting a life with her. But after that, it pretty much spiraled.
You could almost say 4 years of good times and 40 years of bad times.
Straight miserableness. Yeah. And I'm to this day, Paul, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful to be in this point where I'm at right now in my life. I never expected anything to come out the way it has lately. I mean, it's just amazing. Because what I did, I moved out of Cupertino, came back to Santa Cruz here, and I straightened out. I went to the shelter, started, going to a lot of meetings. And then at some point, I don't know, things started to click. I wouldn't say I stayed sober all that time, but I was on the road to recovery at that point, even though I slipped a few times or not.
You're physically strong and a well-built guy. I know you were going to the gym quite a bit when you first came to Gault House. Have you always gone to the gym?
No, not consistently, no. I've always wanted to go to the gym. I've always wanted to be that badass in the gym, yeah. Hell yeah. But I never could because I was too drunk or too loaded to even get through the door, so to speak. I didn't have enough money to even put down for a 1-month membership. That's sad, So it's kind of funny. I'll tell you a little story how I ended up at the gym. The original owner, he found me stumbling down the street. For some reason, he pulled over and asked me if I'm hungry. Honest to God's truth. So I got in this van. I don't know who he was. Could have been a serial killer for that, more as I'm concerned. So he goes, "Come on, I own the gym. I want you to clean up." So it was like, whatever. I had nothing better to do that day. So we go over there. He hands me his chicken and he slides it over to me. He goes, "I want you to eat that, and I'll be right back." So he came back like an hour later. Chicken was devoured. It was gone. It was whole chicken from Safeway. So I ate it, and man, that was the first time I ever ate anything in my life. And all of a sudden, he asked me if I wanted a job. I go, man, I can't work in this condition. He goes, well, go clean up for a week and come back and I'll give you a job. And I've been there almost 12 years now.
Wow. And that's Chris?
No, that's Al. Chris came into the picture 3 years ago.
I see.
Yeah.
And talk to me a little more about what happened. How did that progress? It sounds like it started with the chicken at the gym.
It did. Okay. I started with a whole chicken, and then something in the back of my mind, I had the sense like things are going to be okay. You know, I had no clue what was ahead of me, what work had to be done. I just felt like, wow, this has never happened to me, and why is this happening to me? You know, so I just I had that moment of clarity where you sense that something that's happening at that point was good, but you couldn't explain what it was. It was just something that like, wow, this is kind of cool. So a week later, I come back. I was all scabbed up. All the scabs are healed and stuff. He goes, "Were you ready to work?" I go, "What am I going to do?" And he goes, "We're going to start you with cleaning the gym." So I go, "Man, I can't." I was kind of weak still, so yeah, I give it a whirl. And then all of a sudden, I kept going back either other day. I stayed at the shelter at the time, so every day I'd check out, and I had a place to go, which was cool. So I go back to the shelter, shower and eat, sleep, and just like show up every day because I knew this thing was good, but I had no clue it was going to get to a point. And now I'm training, helping other people to work out, and so forth like that. So it's like, yeah, things worked out really well.
Good.
Yeah. It's not easy. I ain't going to lie. I mean, every day is a struggle over there because, especially what's going on these days. So.
And how about staying clean? Has that been easy?
Not at first. No. Far from easy, man. So it's like, I can tell you ever since I've been here, it's been a lot easier. It's been a hell of a lot easier for me. And I owe a lot to this Gault house.
Why has it been easier here? What is it about Gault house that's made it easier?
Because I think there's a lot of love here in this house. There's a lot of caring, and people understand. Like there's a management crew that's on the property here, and they're very supportive. And I don't know, I just feel like I belong here. I feel like part of something here. I don't know what, but I feel part of it, and that made me really feel good. So I'm just kind of like I'm riding the wave, so to speak, you might say, so serpent style.
What advice would you give to people who are in addiction now and looking for a way out?
Don't give up. Never, ever. I don't care how many times you fall on your ass, just get back up and move on forward. That's all you can do. You just got to keep moving forward and find people that are positive in your life. Get away from the people that are negative, that don't support you in any way, any healthy way anyway. So it's like, seek out the people. I even went to church for a while. I don't preach church to anybody. It's just something I did on the side that really helped me a lot as well. So I think finding good people and having people have their trust and faith in you is big. That's real big. Yeah.
Now that you've got a couple of years clean, what do you think works to help you stay clean? What works in recovery?
Hope, more than anything. Just like getting up, taking a shower, putting my clean clothes on. That's a big thing for me, man. It's been a while since I had clean clothes and a place to wash my clothes and stuff like that. So those little things really tie into my recovery. It's just those little things that I do throughout the day. It's not the big major stuff, the major hurdles I accomplish. It's basically just the little stuff, like somebody comes up with an attitude, or lately since this COVID has been going on, people have been like really on edge. And I worked at a grocery store for a minute and dealing with customer service, there's like, people are not happy. People are on edge. You don't know where they're coming from. And it taught me to feel for them, you know, try to understand where they're coming from and not judge. Big thing for me is not to be judgmental, because I'm not in any shape or form to judge anybody. So I think that a big part of staying plugged in is just put one foot in front of the other.
We're going to finish off this podcast now, but I'd like to give you a chance to say any last words to our listeners.
Well, like I said, don't give up, man. Just, you know, keep plugging away. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what situation you're in. There's always hope. There's always people around. Seek out people that will be beneficial for your life. You know, find out the people who will go the extra mile with you. They'll take time with you. You know, if you can't read, find somebody who can read a book to you. But, you know, anything. Any little thing to get through the days makes a big difference. And I think just having hope is a big deal. Really big. You know, because you never know what's coming tomorrow.
Jeff, thanks for joining us today on the Stories of Addiction podcast. To our listeners, we wish that you stay sober and be happy.
That's right. Amen, brother.